A quiet war is brewing. It is a battle for the very soul of global finance. This is not a war fought with soldiers or tanks. It is fought with code, with regulations, and with trillions of dollars hanging in the balance. On one side stands SWIFT, the old guard. For 50 years it has been the undisputed king of international money transfers. It is familiar, it is powerful, but it is also slow, it is expensive. On the other side stands a challenger, a digital disruptor. Its name is XRP. Born from the world of cryptocurrency, XRP was designed for one purpose. It was built to move money across borders instantly. We are talking about the control of the global financial system. For SWIFT, losing its dominance would be catastrophic. It would mean the end of an era. For XRP, victory would mean becoming the new backbone of the world's economy. The world is watching, waiting to see which titan will emerge victorious. For years, a dark cloud hung over Ripple and XRP. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, filed a lawsuit in December 2020. The agency claimed that XRP was an unregistered security. This accusation was a potential death sentence. Ripple spent over $200 million defending itself. But they refused to back down. They argued that XRP was not a security. They insisted it was a commodity, a digital currency, much like Bitcoin or Ethereum. This was more than a defense of their company. It was a fight for the entire American crypto industry. Then, in July 2023, the unthinkable happened. Judge Analisa Torres declared that XRP, when sold to the public on exchanges, is not a security. It was a stunning victory for Ripple. The price of XRP surged. The legal chains that had held XRP back were shattered. This victory was more than just a legal win, it was rocket fuel. Financial institutions that had been watching from the sidelines now had a green light. The ruling didn't just save XRP, it supercharged its mission. Behind the technology and the legal battles lies one of XRP's most powerful assets. It is its community. Known affectionately and sometimes fiercely as the XRP Army, this is not your typical group of investors. They are a global network of supporters, researchers, and advocates who have remained loyal through the darkest of times. While other crypto communities often chase short-term hype and fleeting trends, the XRP community has been laser-focused on a single, long-term mission. This community was forged in the fires of adversity. During the 3-year SEC lawsuit, when many would have abandoned a project facing such immense legal pressure, the XRP Army dug in. They relentlessly countered misinformation and fear spread by critics. They conducted their own research, dissecting court documents and sharing complex legal arguments in ways the average person could understand. They organized online and supported each other, creating a powerful sense of shared purpose. They were not just holding a speculative token, they believed they were holding the key to a better financial future. They understand the problems with the current financial system because many have experienced them firsthand. They see XRP not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as a practical solution to a real-world problem. While other crypto groups might fracture during a market downturn, the XRP community's conviction often grows stronger. This dedicated base provides Ripple with an invaluable advantage. It is a decentralized marketing force. It is a global network of watchdogs, holding media and influencers accountable. They are the grassroots foundation upon which the entire ecosystem is built, a testament to the power of a community united by a clear and compelling mission. The conversation around upgrading our financial infrastructure is no longer confined to crypto blogs and tech forums. It is happening in the halls of power in Washington, D.C., and in the boardrooms of Wall Street. Political leaders are starting to wake up to the reality that the United States is falling behind. They see other countries pushing ahead with digital currencies and faster payment systems. Figures from both sides of the political aisle have begun to openly call for modernization. Former U.S. Treasurer Rosie Rios, for instance, joined Ripple's board of directors. She understands the inner workings of the system and has been a vocal proponent for leveraging XRP to make payments more efficient. When figures with this level of federal experience endorse a solution, it forces policymakers to take it seriously. The same shift is happening on Wall Street. The head of BlackRock, Larry Fink, the man who manages over $10 trillion in assets, has spoken about the need to tokenize financial assets. His firm is leading the charge on Bitcoin ETFs, but the conversation does not stop there. The underlying message is clear. The technology behind assets like XRP is the future of finance. The efficiency, speed, and cost savings are simply too great for Wall Street to ignore anymore. This growing chorus of support is creating a powerful tailwind for XRP. It is a convergence of political will and financial incentive. Both groups are looking at the same set of problems: an outdated financial system that is slow, expensive, and vulnerable. And increasingly, they are looking at solutions like XRP not as a radical threat, but as a logical and necessary evolution. Beneath the surface of our financial system, a quiet but fierce civil war is raging. One of the most alarming trends to emerge from this conflict is debanking. We are seeing legally operating businesses, often in politically unpopular industries, suddenly having their bank accounts shut down without warning or clear explanation. It is a stark reminder of the immense power that a handful of major financial institutions hold over our economic lives. They have become the arbiters of who is allowed to participate in the economy, based on criteria that often go far beyond financial risk. This is where the promise of decentralized technologies like XRP becomes so compelling. A decentralized network is, by its very nature, neutral. Transactions are processed based on the validity of the code, not the identity or beliefs of the sender or receiver. This offers a powerful alternative to a system where financial access can be revoked at a moment's notice. At the same time, governments around the world, including the United States, are exploring central bank digital currencies or CBDCs. On one hand, a digital dollar could make payments more efficient. On the other, it raises profound questions about privacy and control. A fully programmable CBDC could give the government unprecedented insight into and authority over our spending. It could be used to enforce policy, for example, by preventing purchases of certain goods or setting expiration dates on funds. This potential for surveillance and control is making many people deeply uncomfortable, pushing them to look for alternatives that preserve financial freedom. XRP and other digital assets stand in stark contrast to this vision. They represent a path toward modernization without sacrificing privacy and autonomy. They can provide the speed and efficiency of a digital dollar without the centralized control and surveillance. This banking civil war, with its debanking trends and the debate over CBDCs, is creating a clear demand for a neutral, global, and censorship-resistant platform for moving value. To understand why a challenger like XRP even has a chance, you have to look closely at the current champion, SWIFT. For 50 years it has been the dominant force, but its system is a product of the 1970s. It operates on a model of correspondent banking. When you send money from a bank in New York to one in Tokyo, the money does not travel directly. It has to hop between several intermediary banks along the way. Each of these banks has its own processes, its own fees, and its own operating hours. This is why a simple international transfer can take 3 to 5 business days and cost a fortune. It is an analog system struggling to function in a digital world. The core problem is what is known as trapped liquidity. Every bank in the SWIFT network has to keep huge amounts of money parked in accounts all over the world. These are called nostro and vostro accounts. Trillions of dollars are sitting idle in these accounts, just waiting to facilitate payments. This is incredibly inefficient. That money is not being used for loans or investments. It is dead capital, a massive hidden cost of the global financial system. SWIFT has tried to modernize with initiatives like its Global Payments Innovation or GPI, but these are just patches on an old system. They make the messaging faster, but they do not solve the underlying problem of trapped liquidity and slow settlement. Now compare this with XRP. It was designed from the ground up to solve this exact problem. XRP's technology, the XRP ledger, can settle a transaction in 3 to 5 seconds, not days, seconds. The cost is minuscule, less than a fraction of a cent, but its most powerful feature is its ability to act as a bridge currency. Instead of trapping trillions in nostro accounts, banks can use XRP to source liquidity on demand. A bank in Mexico wanting to send funds to the Philippines does not need to hold Filipino pesos. It can convert Mexican pesos to XRP, send the XRP in seconds, and then convert it to Filipino pesos on the other end. This frees up all that trapped capital. This is the fundamental difference. SWIFT is a messaging system. It sends instructions, but the actual money moves slowly through a series of separate accounts. XRP is a settlement asset. The value itself moves almost instantly across a single decentralized ledger. This is not just an incremental improvement, it is a complete paradigm shift. It is the difference between sending a letter by mail and sending an email. One is an outdated process with many points of failure and delay. The other is instantaneous, efficient, and built for the modern world. This glaring inefficiency is SWIFT's Achilles' heel, and it is the very problem XRP was created to solve. No disruptive technology succeeds in a vacuum. It needs powerful backers, visionary thinkers who see the future and are willing to invest their capital and credibility to build it. Ripple and XRP have this in spades. Look no further than the early days of the company and the people who got involved. We see a pattern that echoes one of the most successful groups of innovators in modern history, the PayPal Mafia. This legendary team, which included figures like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Reid Hoffman, went on to found or fund some of the biggest tech companies in the world, from Tesla to LinkedIn to YouTube. They understood how to challenge entrenched industries. Ripple's story has a similar flavor. The company's leadership and early investors include people with deep roots in Silicon Valley and finance. Chris Larsen, a co-founder of Ripple, had already built successful fintech companies like eLoan and Prosper. He understood the pain points of the consumer lending and finance world. He saw the potential for a new technology to completely rewire the plumbing of the financial system. This was not a project started by amateurs in a garage. It was a deliberate effort by seasoned entrepreneurs who knew exactly which giant they were targeting and had the experience to build a credible challenger. These leaders did not just bring money to the table. They brought a network. They brought experience in navigating complex regulatory environments. They knew how to build enterprise-grade software that could meet the demanding security and reliability standards of major financial institutions. This is a crucial differentiator from many other crypto projects that are more focused on grassroots consumer-facing applications. Ripple was built from day one with the language and expectations of banks and payment providers in mind. They were not trying to burn down the system, they were trying to sell it a much better engine. This Silicon Valley DNA is a powerful force. It brings a relentless focus on solving a problem and scaling a solution. It fosters a culture of innovation that is constantly pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The involvement of these influential figures gave Ripple and XRP early credibility. It signaled to the rest of the financial world that this was a serious project with a serious team behind it. They were not just building a cryptocurrency, they were building a global enterprise. This strategic backing from tech and finance veterans has been a critical component of XRP's journey, giving it the resilience and strategic vision needed to take on a global behemoth like Swift. For years, the cryptocurrency market has been driven primarily by retail investors. But the next wave of growth, the one that could propel the market to unimaginable heights, will come from a different source. It will come from institutions. We are talking about the largest pools of capital on the planet. Pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, and asset managers like BlackRock and Fidelity. These entities manage tens of trillions of dollars. Until now, they have largely remained on the sidelines, held back by regulatory uncertainty and the lack of secure, regulated investment products. That is all about to change. The recent approval of Bitcoin ETFs in the United States was a watershed moment. It was the crack in the dam. It provided a safe, regulated, and easy way for institutional investors to gain exposure to digital assets. The success of these ETFs has been staggering, attracting billions of dollars in a matter of months. This has proven that the institutional appetite is real, and it is massive. Now the market is looking for what is next. The conversation has naturally turned to ETFs for other major digital assets. And XRP, with its newfound legal clarity in the United States, is at the top of that list. An XRP ETF would be a game changer. It would open the floodgates for institutional money to flow directly into the XRP ecosystem. This is not just about the price of the asset going up, it is about liquidity. Deep institutional-grade liquidity is the lifeblood of any major financial asset. It is what allows for large-scale transactions to occur without destabilizing the market. For XRP to function as a global bridge currency for banks and payment providers, it needs exactly this kind of massive liquidity. An ETF would provide a direct on-ramp for trillions of dollars to enter the ecosystem, creating the deep, stable market that large institutions require. Think about the scale of this potential investment. Pension funds manage the retirement savings of hundreds of millions of people. Even a small allocation, say 1% of their portfolio, into digital assets would mean trillions of dollars flowing into the space. As these institutions seek to diversify beyond Bitcoin, assets with clear utility and regulatory standing like XRP become extremely attractive. This influx of capital would do more than just increase XRP's market value. It would fundamentally validate it as a legitimate institutional-grade asset, accelerating its adoption and cementing its role in the future of finance. The institutional wave is coming, and it has the power to turn XRP into a global financial pillar. The evidence is mounting. The world's financial system is at a tipping point. The cracks in SWIFT's 50-year-old foundation are no longer possible to ignore. Its system is too slow, too expensive, and too inefficient for the demands of a hyper-connected global economy. Patches and upgrades can only do so much. The core architecture is a relic of the past. The political and economic pressures are building. Nations are seeking alternatives to a US-centric financial system. Businesses are demanding faster, cheaper ways to move money. Consumers are tired of waiting days for their funds to arrive. The system is ripe for disruption. XRP, with its speed, low cost, and newfound regulatory clarity, stands as the most prominent and purpose-built challenger. It is not just a theoretical idea. It is a live, functioning network with powerful backers, a resilient community, and a clear vision for the future. It directly addresses the core weaknesses of the legacy system. The question is no longer if the system will be upgraded, but how and with what. The inertia of the old system is powerful, but the logic of the new technology is relentless. The transition may not happen overnight, but the direction of travel seems increasingly clear. So, will XRP replace SWIFT? Perhaps that is not even the right question. It might not be a simple one-for-one replacement. The future may be a hybrid system where technologies like XRP handle the settlement layer, the actual movement of value, while SWIFT evolves to handle messaging and compliance standards. Or perhaps the change will be even more profound. The very concept of correspondent banking could become obsolete, replaced by a world of tokenized assets and instant settlement on decentralized ledgers. This is not just about replacing one company with another. It is about a fundamental revolution in how we define and move money. What is certain is that we are on the cusp of a monumental shift. The battle between the old guard and the new breed is about to enter its most critical phase. The inertia of SWIFT is immense, but the momentum of innovation, driven by technologies like XRP, is accelerating. We may be witnessing the final years of a financial system built in the 20th century and the dawn of a new one built for the 21st. The shocking truth may not be that XRP is about to replace SWIFT, but that the very concept of how global finance works is about to be rewritten from the ground up, with or without the old king's consent. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Express Econgeo Finance Insights for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.